Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
Perspective on the African continent. We try to bring into view what's been happening across the continent in 2025, because we have just 2 days and a year goes to end. So we try to do a little bit of perspective here and there. Let's come back home. We've had news that the Tema refinery is back in operations. In fact, they've resumed operations. But the big questions on the mindset of a lot of Ghanaians that I've even spoken to is the fact that, look, we bring toll on, we spend millions of cedis, trying to bring them back on stream. In the next 2-3 months, it takes the same people, either through alleged allegations of corruptions and mismanagement, for us to run the refinery down. I want to start with you, Prince, on this one. Where do you stand on it? Should we be overjoyous because it helps with the our production of oil here in Ghana? And Kwame Nkrumah's original thought about setting up toll. We've run it down. We are being told that it's functional. Is it going to stay put?
Well, I believe so. I strongly believe so, because of the person who is at the helm of affairs in the country today, that's the president, and the vision that is backing this decision, and which actions have flowed from, and today we're having this discussion on. I know that in the past, when he was president, even when he was vice president and President Atta Mills was president, these were plans that were, in motion. I recall at the time when the GMPC was headed by Mr. Atuahoy, there were efforts to, as it were, clean the balance sheets of these institutions and ensure that we have, a very well-structured organization going forward. If you recall, there was even an infrastructure fund and others that were, put in place. Then there was the Wadako, where he was put in charge of 2 entities, not just TOR. You get it? And so there has been efforts in that direction. So he's coming back this time around with that wealth of knowledge from the past and the experiences in the near past of how not to do things, which occurred under President Akufo-Addo, and we saw the NPA boss, Mustafa Hamid and others, and what they did, Pobensal and all that, what they did with that institution.
What did they do?
Oh, today they are in court, they have been arrested, and they are going to be prosecuted, or are being prosecuted. The mismanagement, the thievery, the scandals, we've seen that. That is not what to do.
Are you alleging?
I'm not alleging. The Attorney General has put forward facts. Facts that include various sums of monies that were, as it were, separated from these organizations.
They've been put deals. That's why I'm trying to interrupt, because the matter is in court. So
I'm not discussing the matter that is in court. I'm not discussing the court process. I'm telling you what the Attorney General has said. Unless you are telling your viewers that you doubt the Attorney General, in which case you have to also, assist us to understand clearly the basis for your doubting the venerable Attorney General who has
I can have my doubts over him.
No, but you doubt Yoko. You doubt the CID. You doubt all the state investigative agencies that have done thorough jobs, that have produced evidence, that have been given to the Attorney General, for which reason he didn't just hide in the closet and say. He came and addressed the good people of Ghana and produced evidence with amounts, specifics, and so on. I mean, unless we want to indict the system or we want to shut down, the oral and all the investigations underway, the mother serpent of corruption can stay in America. Is that what we're saying today? If not, then let us agree that there's been corruption, there have been allegations. In fact, I wouldn't even call them allegations, that evidence produced, and the courts will do their job. So that should also serve as a deterrent to whoever is put in charge of state agencies under President Mahama. Right. All right. And I think that the high ground that President Mahama has taken, including indicating that the first person who brings corruption to his government will suffer a very bitter, consequence, should serve as a deterrent. And I believe that if we're able to cut out these kinds of acts, then these bodies can indeed be on their solid footing. I recall, the moving Pena. You remember that guy? He's in Parliament. Is he still in Parliament? Butting guy, the one who used to do books for the. He's not, but he used to be. Yes, he used to be in Parliament. You see, people do corrupt acts and we hide in Parliament for immunity. We have a few more still in Parliament. I expect that in the coming year, just like the President has said, the Speaker has said similarly, that he is not going to shield anybody. He's going to spew out say MPs, corrupt MPs, and so on. They should live by it, and that will be the reason why TOR will work. It is not just, we know what needs to be done. Look, every day we need fuel, right? Until e-vehicles become the norm, we will need fuel. If we don't get to a point where there's parity, or at least an escalation in the number of e-vehicles, and we have enough, points where you can power your vehicle conveniently, because it's not good enough to have the things scattered, because you can't predetermine how people are going to move. People will move anywhere, and just like you're running out of fuel, you need a nearest filling station. Every filling station should have an e-vehicle charging point, just like now they are doing for the motorcycles. And I can assure you that John Jinapo is doing exactly that with his ministry. He's putting in place. It's it's not just a knee-jerk reaction thing. Let's go a little bit away from Ghana, and then you get the picture even more clearly. Go to Nigeria. See what Dangote has done. It is not strange, perhaps, to some people that with all the corruption in Nigeria didn't have its own refinery, state refinery. But the state at least assisted Dangote as a private person, and he has a refinery, a big one, a huge one, all right? But Nigeria produces a lot of oil. So does it make sense that they don't have a refinery? In Ghana, we do have salt. The best quality salt at Dasongo. Salt is a key ingredient in refining oil. So we have not just the oil that we are producing, we also do have the key ingredient that is required for, as it were, refining it. So we can supply Nigeria. Why should Brazil be supplying Nigeria with salt? Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense. If we are able to leverage, and that's why our earlier discussion is very, very important. We as a continent, I'm saying that when the president becomes the AU chair, the plan, the vision that he has, it's like a vehicle.
And I'm even told in the road sector, we spend billions importing bitumen.
Yes, which is a byproduct. Yes. So, and you see the big push is going to create a lot of roads, right? A lot of roads are going to be constructed this year. In fact, finished this year and next year. Because the president has only one term, which ends in 2028. He expects that within the next, let's say about 14, 15 months ahead, much of these road projects will be completed. And so things like the byproducts of refining, it just makes sense. Because you're going to have you see, this demand and supply. Why would we have to go and buy bitumen from outside when we can actually, buy it as a byproduct of whatever? We have aviation fuel and so on. Now that the continent is looking at interconnectivity in terms of flights and all that, why should we be getting aviation fuel from somewhere? You understand? Everything connects to the other, and I'm saying that there's a good plan. So if corruption does not eat away, and the balance, the books of each organization is good, they can borrow against it if they need even extra resources. But I believe that even the private sector can come in when the books are open and there's transparency in all transactions, and the state security is working. The Auditor General is actually also on the heels of everybody. This can work, and this is the environment within which it can work, and that is the enabling environment that the president is creating. And that's why I'm saying that I believe strongly that this will work unlike before.
This to what is happening at all, how would you isolate ECG? Would you isolate it?
Well, I would say, and I'll be blunt, anyone who disrespects Ghanaians, whether it's under administration A, B, or C, must not be tolerated. Ghanaians must not accept any shortchanging. It doesn't matter whether NDC and it's an NDC government or whether MPP and it's an MPP government. Wrong is wrong. Ghanaians must benefit from the resources. In fact, the ECG matter for me is even more annoying hearing IMF telling us what to do with ECG. I'm sure you've heard what the IMF has said about the ECG, right? Yes, a lot of money that has accrued over the past few years that we have been under the IMF, I don't know what to even call it, but has gone. The chunk of it has gone to electricity. You're aware. Much of the monies that has come through from being under an IMF program has gone into the electricity sector, and IMF is trying to tell us to sell ECG.
Privatize it.
Yeah, so we are going back to the PDS days. For me, I feel very insulted, not because IMF has said it, not because PDS is still standing there and I don't see people behind bars, but we haven't obviously learned lessons. Yes, I mean, we've seen Tor doing well, and because of how you pose your question, it means that the black man, the black African Ghanaian in Nkrumah's words, is capable of managing his own affairs. We don't need a white man, or we don't need other people to do that. The problem is that when something is called state, the attitude of Ghanaians who are capable of managing their private entities changes, and that should not be countenanced. And I agree with Solo 100%. If somebody comes under the need of management to handle state resource and runs it down, the person should not just be dismissed. The person should be prosecuted, because it amounts to financial loss to the state. When these things happen and happen in real time, that is when people wake up to the responsibility that you cannot take on the state, neither can you disregard the people. So I think that I am opposed to the ECG privatization. I mean, in the first instance, I think the state should first make an effort to put it on a solid footing, and then can invite after, not before. I mean, why sell your car or your house in a certain state where it will be bought for scrap, when indeed you can bring it to a level that would give you good value? And I think that ECG, like we all know, is the distributor, right, of electricity. It's not a generator of electricity. So there's no issue as far as ECG is concerned with generation, nor transmission, which is GridCo and VRA's, job to do, and the independent power producers. Okay. Now, we are always told of line losses, technical challenges, and all sorts of nonsense. Yet, the sad part, in fact, the saddest part is that it is supposed to be mostly prepaid. We have moved away from the postpaid, where ECG has to do the work and then come get the money. So if I am giving you my money and then you give me the thing, what's the problem really? Now, then the issue now becomes, to some extent, is government, as it were, subsidizing our power consumption, which then takes us into the realm of, indeed, are we paying the true value for the electricity that we enjoy? Okay, so the PURC has told us, that's the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, has told us that because of galamsey and other things, water must be increased. Ghanaians are angry, but then we can all see that galamsey is giving us a problem, and we cannot do without water. But I think maybe desalination should be an option for that one. Now, because long term, it will take us a long while to even have, like, the Rhine River in Germany, proper water out of this galamsey situation. So that one. So let's be pragmatic. The same with the electricity. We have been told that it must be jacked up, and they've given us all sorts of reasons, and none gels for me, apart from the fact that we must pay real prices. If you are not able to stop those who are stealing the power, then we are rather subsidizing the thieves. And one thing I like that ECG has done at the new management is that they are given 6% for whistleblowing. So if you catch someone who is stealing electricity and you are able to, as it were, report the person, you get 6%. And of course, the identity will not be disclosed. So that is good. But I think the percentage is low. It's, the incentive is in the fact that Ghana people talk. So you go and report somebody, even though your identity is not disclosed, somehow or the other, when the money gets paid, people will know you've got somebody. And before long, whispers will go around and somebody will know. And that's when you guys slap you. So increase the amount. After all, what do you lose? If you are getting, for 6%, you are getting people reporting only at the rate of a fraction of what reports will come. Because it's about efficiency. It's not about making money. Really, this is another essence. If you make a disincentive for people to go and steal the electricity, it means they won't steal. So you don't even have to pay anybody going forward. Because if, let's say, for example, 30% or 50-50, people will be rushing to report their neighbors. Sometimes even children may even report their parents, And sooner than later, nobody will steal the power. And then all the power will become available and on stream. That is how you get this in. So the small percentage, I think they should jack it up and then stop rather taxing us, through the back door to pay for the criminals who are doing that. Now, having said that, I think that I would want to quickly move away from the ECG to the Gold Board and indicate that, yes, it is true that the Gold Board has done a lot for Ghana in the short time that they have been in existence.
I'll come back and we'll take that round.
Okay.
Let's do the ECG round first.
Oh, then I should have ended well on ECG.
The ECG, still on ECG.
The good one,
on Christmas Day when I left after the show, when I go home, I didn't have lights.
After I danced.
Yes.
Oh, I danced for him.
There was no light. The light came back around 8 p.m. Today I'll go beyond the 10 o'clock. Maybe I'll ask the MCRs to give us some few minutes in addition. Solo is right as usual. When I see in this thing is that leadership matters and all politicians are the same. The oral team must be up and doing and go after those who messed up tall, as Solo said. This is from Nasir Mohammed. This one is also from Nasir. Okay. Just a minute. Let me get my. So it's all about commendations here. Nothing. Yeah. Okay. This one is that with the ECG, they should move Mr. Combat and his men and women there or similar person. Okay. You want us to shift Thor to ECG. For them to
right, so it's usually that every procurement is inflated by a factor of 150%. It is no. ECG, every procurement is inflated. Who doesn't know this there?
Let's end the conversation. So what are we doing for the new year?
Oh, I thought, okay.
Or you want us to touch on the gold board issue?
Because I have less than 10. I think that I agree with Solo and even the viewers that there must be heads rolling. When Bawumia put Ken Ofori-Atta's partner in charge of ECG, that Kelly Gajekpo, and they did that PDS thing, and the hairdresser of the president and others took it over. When Bawumia did the bank transfer, bank guarantee into an insurance guarantee to allow for the corruption to happen, the fraud to be perpetrated, we should see Bawumia being prosecuted. Is he above the law? It's Ken above the law. It's Kelly above the law. It's the Baba above the law and all that. Until we see that, ECG privatization is a no-no. Bawumia has therefore caused the Millennium Challenge Compact to be lost on Ghana. That was a lot of good money.
190 million.
Yes. Financial loss to the state by that singular action of allowing corruption to thrive. He should not be seen as a flag bearer and therefore let off the hook. He should be prosecuted. Likewise, Akufo-Addo, as a former president, 1 year is gone. he must be prosecuted for all the crimes that he's committed and the corruption that he's overseen. You are going back to this alleged thing. So it's an alleged mother serpent of corruption. Is that what you're saying?
No, let's use allegation.
It's not special prosecutor says the man is the
cannot prove. You cannot prove that. No, you cannot.
Mother serpent of corruption.
And we want to disassociate ourselves with the comments you made.
No.
Not on live television because what have you observed across the continent?
I think that the key things have been touched on by Doc, and I would like to start from your last interjection on the age limit thing, since it's around the continent as a big issue. Very old people, and I'm not saying old people, very old people wanting to hold on to power indefinitely. There have been instances also where there have been family hegemonies. One passing on to the son or the daughter and so on and so forth. Those things are not helpful. I think that in addition to the upper age limits that you were hoping would be put on presidential tenures, as in like people who enter presidential office. I think also that the lower age limit is important. I am always for the youth. I mean, not just because of my previous life at the National Youth Authority or the Youth Enterprise Support, but more so because Africa is a very youthful continent. In fact, we are projected to have the largest, youth population. And what best than to have one of your own be your head and in sync with you move your continent forward. In any case, I believe that youth is not a place where people don't have brains. In fact, the best energies of human beings are best in that bracket if harnessed properly. And I'd like to use the Western example. I mean, at times you go for conferences and the West, their age cohort for youth is way lower than that of Africa. In Ghana, it's supposed to be 18 to 35. And by 18 in some countries, you're supposed to be even out of the nest. You should be on your own, independent, And sometimes you look at the people that these IMF and other Bretton Woods institutions bring as their experts, and you compare them to those sitting across the table from Ghana and Africa and all that, and it's like sons and daughters talking to their fathers and dictating to their fathers how they should run Africa or their countries. I mean, if that is not insulting enough, then I think that those leaders should, be part of the train that agrees that the lower age limit be brought below 40. But again, the issue of the tenure, that's in the 5-year term, these are all proposals. They are not cast in stone. The work of the Constitutional Review Committee is not, as it were, the final nail, as the President has indicated. As soon as the new year begins, a new committee will be put in place. That's the implementation committee that will look at the proposals that have come out of the Constitutional Review Committee's work. And he's expecting that a number of those who handled the review itself will be on it. So the institutional memory, whilst we're deliberating and so on, that which came in, would be all put on board. And Ghanaians will have the final say, either through a referendum or through their representatives in Parliament. And on that occasion, I think that we must all insist that our parliamentarians really become our representatives. There should be no reason why any MP should be allowed to vote when they have not gone to consult their constituents. They should not speak their minds. They should not be allowed to, as it were, vote.
Let me bring you back. We'll come back to it.
Yes.
Let's get back on the continent.
Yes, I just said that just to put things in perspective. I mean, whilst he was talking, I was getting a lot of messages. In fact, a lot of people are watching Pan-African TV, and a lot of messages are coming through already. So I just wanted to put at ease those who had concerns during the descent. But to the continent, I think that it is refreshing that our president is, as you put it, the AU chair in waiting. He is showing the way here, and he has, as it were, the, shall I say, the moral high ground right now. And I'm saying right now because we don't know what is in the future. I want to believe that he will do even better in the new year because that has been his style. We must also all support him in order for him to achieve. And we must try to dispel any inertia because sometimes you're running a race, you're running very fast, and then you have, a ton behind you as in a sack or stones behind you. And that's the NPP I'm referring to. They pull him down people. When after 31st January, watch the space. They are going to come, and already they've started distracting the president. They've tried to do all manner of things. We as Ghanaians must help so that Africa can succeed. I want to also align myself with the kinds of situations that are happening in our neighboring countries, particularly the Sahel and all that. Again, I think the president has done well. I want to doff my hat for Colonel Beblulate's efforts, and we wish him greater success. In the case of Nigeria, the bombing that happened on Christmas Day, Donald Trump has delivered on his promise. At least what I hear is that the Nigerian government was part of that exercise. And when I say part or party to that exercise, I mean that they were not only in the know, they were lockstep with the Americans, even as the missiles were being deployed. So it wasn't done on the blind side of the Nigerian government. However, going forward, I don't think that Nigeria should look at this sovereignty and hand it to a hot-headed person, no matter where the person sits, whether in the Oval Office or in the Situation Room. Donald Trump cannot be trusted with the lives of Africans. He has said a lot of nice things about the shitholes and all that. And I think that the mindset of that gentleman... Yes. If you know the mindset of the person you're dealing with, you have to be very careful. So on that note, I think Nigeria should not, as it were, give him that, latitude going forward. The signal has been sent. Nigeria has to tighten, and if they want to assist, they should just give the support in terms of the logistics and so on. I'm sure that Nigerian Army and others are up to the task, given the right, equipment. At least I would like to thank him, Donald Trump's government, for this assisting Ghana to airlift food and troops to the Caribbean. That's Cuba and so on, even though the MPP didn't like the idea. But, those are the kind of assistance we need. We don't need for them to, as it were, take over our countries or take over our governments and so on. No, it shouldn't happen. And I think that rather than that, Africa should be united. So I, again, support the ECOWAS standing force that has been put together to ensure that coup d'etats like the one that we saw in Benin that was foiled with the intervention of Nigeria and of course Ghana and others does not become the norm going forward. That if you try to have a coup, it would be resisted by the sub-region. But beyond that, I think that the Africa itself, the African command, not the American one that is based in cantonments, not that one. I'm talking of the proper African army standby army should be a focus for the continent. Because look, aggression will come. And aggression has been here with us. The new colonialists have been doing a lot with our active support. As it were, our human beings are even enslaving themselves already. Freely, willingly. Sometimes even happy to pay, stand in the sun and go and donate themselves. And I've heard some very bizarre stories also about Africans being given opportunities, particularly in Dubai and other areas. And unfortunately, they do, and then they harvest their organs.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes, the desperation. So when you're talking about people traveling and endangering their lives on the high seas, it goes beyond that. What they do essentially is they'll tell you, oh, you've qualified, based on that you have to go and do your medicals. They just want to be sure of your blood group at your own expense. So you do your medicals, you have a good kidney, there's a donor out there. If you are not lucky and you have a match, they tell you, oh, you've won. You go and you're harvested, and then they leave you in the desert. So I think that we owe it to ourselves to improve our situation on the continent and especially in the country, so that our young people do not fall prey, even as we try to harness their resource for nation building, for the continent's own, well-being. I would like to end on a note of AFTA. That's African Continental Free Trade Area, which is headquartered again in Ghana. So in all of this, you see that Ghana is central to the rising of Africa. And that would be a very good tribute, not just to our current president, but to our first president, Nkrumah, whose vision and the likes of his, peers brought into being the AU or the African Union or African OAU, Organization of African Unity. I think that we owe it to ourselves even more to ensure that we trade amongst ourselves. But before we trade amongst ourselves, we must identify, I want to say individual, I'm talking of country by country, shall I say, best, feet and put them forward. So if Ghana, for example, has X minerals, including lithium, then we should have a continental plan around e-vehicles and so on. I know there's somebody in East Africa who has made some cars. All right, so we kind of like leverage on that. We have universities. We should share information. As a continent, we must operate as though we're a country. That is how we can have a breadbasket that would feed the Sahel. The Sahel is already feeding us. Burkina is feeding us. So what is it that they are doing that we can't do? If we have better soil, then we must be able to, rather than, be building unnecessarily in places like PENDREAM and Greater Accra, honestly, I don't see ever as having a best farmer. Because where are you going to farm? In baskets or on treetops?
Or the sea?
No, you see, we must get very serious as a country. We are not planning very well, and we're not planning into the future. We must have a very good plan, and I want to believe that Dr. Nimoy Thompson's outfit, that's the NDPC, would soon come out with the plan of action, which should be accepted. And I want to have a situation where this constitutional review process should, in addition to looking at presidential terms and elections and all those, which are important, look at the even more important thing of having a national strategic plan, which should or must or shall, whichever legal terminology they want to put there, be binding on every government. It should not be the case where we look at the constitution and say that you should come and continue projects that, you have a good president like President Obama who is doing a continuation of the, and that is under the state policy. But that's in the constitution. It's a requirement, but it's not justiciable. This time it should be mandatory.
In fact, it's one of the proposals. They are recommending that it should be binding.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying that those are the places where I think, as a people, we must put emphasis on, rather than even the important thing of the age limits of presidents and the time frames and so on.
You want to go into CRC? We'll come there.
On that note, I think that we should make Sudan end the war this coming year, at least by Q1. There should be a target. We should not just blanket hope for an end of the war and hope that the world will come and end it. Who are the world? We are our world. And Africa, or Africans, must end the things that are happening to Africans on the continent by ourselves. We must make a conscious effort. Who should come and feed the Sudanese? If Africa can't feed them. If Africa cannot call these two warlords to order. We should have pragmatic ways. And I think that if Trump wants to bomb anyone, they have the means. They have done it to Osama bin Laden. They've done it before. They should.
PENDREAM TV. Now, so far so good. Say open online portal Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.